Can't touch this. Alrighty, boys and girls, this here is the motorcycle lift from Harbor Freight. This is the cheaper one of two, which is about 80 bucks. The other one's about 180 bucks. But since my middle name is Finkelstein, we got the cheaper one. I want to show you a couple things about it and some modifications that I made to it. This is specifically for and only for the mighty DR650, which is right there. And you may want to incorporate some of these thoughts and ideas also. I will tell you that when you get this out of the box, you are not going to find a bag of nuts and bolts. Everything that you need to do to bolt this together, the bolts are kind of already in place. So let me see if I can do it. This little foot pedal here, that screw is in place. These little nuts for the stop bar, they're in place. This little pin and cotter pin is in place. The bolts that hold the jack to the frame, they're in place. So you're not going to find a sack of nuts and bolts. So you'll find yourself looking for stuff, and they're already kind of where they need to be, so to speak. What I did was, because of the DR and me having post-anal drip, I decided to add some wood to the frame. I got some 2x3s, which, as you know, would end up being 1.5 by 2.5 instead of 2x4s. And then I got some a rubber floor mat, and I stapled it to the wood upside down. So this is the rubber side, this is the downside, and the fuzzy floor mat carpety thing is down underneath. So I still have cushion, and it's not going to slip. Okay, so that's the one thing that I did do. Additionally, on the DR, I found personally that it's easier to come in from the opposing side of the kickstand. So I will enter on the right hand side of the bike and keep the jack, the back of the jack just in front of the kickstand, and lift it up from there, versus the other side. Which also I want to show you that because of the frame, how it tapers up in the front, again, me having post-anal drip, when I lift the bike, I want it to be as level as possible, especially when I drain the oil. So what I did was, you know, this is the 2x3, if you will, and then I ripped and cut and slant cutted another piece. The dimension between, you know, the front to the back is 2 inches. That's a 1 inch rise. And then that's the cattywomper there, which will give you about a 27 degree on your saw. But that way, when you lift it, it compensates for that rise in the front of the frame, and really wants to raise the bike more level. And the reason why I did that was, you can raise this up all the way to the top, which it kind of is right now, and you don't have to do this, but the bike's sitting at an angle, and it's a little unnerving because it's not as sturdy as if you were to have it down a notch. As you can see down here, I'm at the highest setting with the stop bar in place, which you definitely want to use. All right, in a second I'm going to swing around to my TV, if you will. Got Carlos Santana off the Supernatural video. This is song number 7, which I don't know what it is, but I want you guys to watch the bass player. The guy's amazing. You can't tell me this guy hadn't twisted up a couple of Mohicans prior to the thing. But anyways, I want you to just watch just the beginning because it's freaking awesome. Watch the bass player, okay? Here we go. She's not getting laid tonight. Okay, so I cut some wood, and then I took some a floor mat, flipped it upside down, stapled it so it's rubber here, not too sticky. And then for the front, because of that taper, you know, we got the 1 inch here, 2 inches here, the cattywamper on about a 27-degree angle. So it'll look about like that, because when you cut one side, you actually get two pieces, obviously, that are opposing, and that compensates for the deal. And then so I took the top of this thing off, drilled through it, center line of the deal, and about 1 inch back. Let me get my flashlight out. And the one thing I had to do, I don't know if you can see that, but I had to take my angle grinder and kind of notch out just a little notch, so when I lower it, it lies flat. Okay? And then so when I drilled those out, I put some lag bolts in underneath. That's about 3/16 by 1.5. And then so that's going to come in like so. I drilled a hole in the steel 3/16, and then up into the wood at the same alignment of the hole at about half the diameter for a pilot hole, because you don't want to split the wood. And I kept it back that inch from the edge, so I'm into more meat of the wood. I didn't want this splitting after all that work, if you know what I mean. Okay, so we got the Harbor Freight cheapy jack, because like I said, my middle name is Finkelstein the Jew. And the way that this works is you got a foot pedal here that jacks it up, okay? And then so you get it to where you're clear of these bars, and then you flip that back, and then that holds that stop bar back and up to a point. Down below is a release foot peg, and then so that's going to lower, and then that kicks down automatically. Okay, and then so that's how you start it out with, you know, like in flat mode or low mode or whatever. Oops, my bad. And then so on the main foot deal here, you lift it up, lift it up, lift it up. And I'll tell you in a minute why I did the addition. When it gets to the first stop bar, which is right there, that's too low for the DR, okay? The bottom of this bike, when it's just sitting still, is 12 inches. And the way that comes is too low. And then so you want to keep going, obviously, and I'll show you in a minute. You keep jacking that up until that gets to that one. And then that's the second stop point, and that's where I like it. And then you release that, and then that stop bar hits these little angle welds here, and it won't let the bike fall or go down anymore. Okay, so that's what's important there. You want to use those stops. And the reason why I did that was when you're changing the oil or whatever, or working on the DR, when I jack the thing up, I want that fucking bike sitting level. I don't want it cattywamper. I don't want the front end sloping down. I don't want the rear wheel, 14 inches in the air and the front tire touching. That's why I went all through this. So when you get to that point, the bike's in the air plenty. Both wheels are free to spin. You can work on the back, you can clean your chain, you can lube your chain, you can work on your suspension, you can work on your front suspension, yada yada. And most importantly, when you get up to that third stop bar, it'll take a second. When you get up here, and I'll show you also, there's the third stop bar. That's too high. The bike is sitting too high and it wants to wiggle a little bit and it makes me nervous. So that's why I did that. Now you can do nothing, use it absolutely stock and raise your bike up, 47 feet in the air, but it wants to wiggle more than I was comfortable with. Okay, so then once you get done and you're working on it or whatever, you lift it up just an RCH. Surveyors know what RCH stands for. You flip this stop bar back and it catches. You step on this bottom one and it lowers the bike. Okay, just like that. Oh yeah, you guy's a stud. Okay, so one other thing I forgot to mention. I got, and you can use 2x4s, or anybody can come up with their own idea, but this is just some thoughts. This piece here, the wedge portion to compensate for the angle in the front of the frame, I just wood glued it, to the, these two pieces together, if you will, and then I brad nailed it together with a couple of 1 or 1.5 or 2 inch brads. Just hit it up and down here every couple of inches, and that'll keep that together. But this thing is solid as a rock, and like I said, I came up underneath here on this side and on the back, 1 inch in, 1 inch in, and ran some lag bolts up in there. So this thing is just solid as a rock. And it's working really good. I'm real happy with it so far. And if you got to do something different, you want to come in from the other side, take the fuckers off or switch them around. No big deal. All right, so we got the jack in place. You want to keep your jack perpendicular to the center line alignment of your bike, if you will. And I kind of got it started. But the bike's still sitting, on the kickstand. It's not straight. It's crooked. And so what you want to do, I'm gonna try to do this with one hand, but definitely hold on to your bike, and then you press the big foot pedal there, and then you'll bring it up until it hits that second notch, that second stop notch there, which is why I added the wood. That's the whole idea behind all this. So I'm gonna try to do this with one hand. Okay. Okay, so see, there's the first stop notch, and the bike's not even off the ground. Okay, that's the one thing that I wanted to have happen. I want both wheels off the ground and I want the fucker level. Okay, so we're gonna keep going until it hits that second stop notch. Okay, there's the second stop notch. Okay, sorry, I'm so wiggly. Okay, so there's the second stop notch, and then I'm gonna depress that little second knob here, so that this little angle iron here, well, it's not angle iron, it's got an angle on the iron, but anyways, so that sits down in there so the bike won't fall or anything like that. So we'll tip that down a little bit. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so both tires are in the air, even though you can't tell. And the bike is pretty much level, which is subjective. Okay, so alternatively, what I was telling you is you don't have to do all this if you're comfortable with I'll try to go somewhat quickly. Okay, so there's the third stop. Lower it. Okay, so now the bike's, you know, way up in the air, but it's not as sturdy. Okay, so that's what worries me. So you lift it up just a fuzz. Okay, bring that stop bar to there, and then push the lower pedal down below very gently, and you lower a little bit. So that's where I like it. Both wheels are in the air. You can turn them, you can spin them, and most importantly, it's more secure. So that doesn't want to go anywhere. You're supposed to tie it down with tie-down straps, but my garage is relatively level, and so I can, you know, work on the chain, the rear suspension, the front suspension, or whatever. All right. So now the bike's in the air. Stop bar number 2, not too high. Low doesn't work on the DR because it has so much ground clearance. But so you can see I got my little, you know, the wood pads that are bolted down. You know, you can spin the rear wheel, take it off, suspension modifications, chain maintenance, oil changes, etc. And then there's that wedge that really matters, that compensates for, you can see how much lower the front end would sit if I had not done that. And then so the front end is in the air too. The bike's, you know, relatively level, and you know the front wheel turns. So if you're going to do suspension modifications, stuff like that. So anyways, some thoughts and ideas that I'm really kind of happy with the way that it came out with. Harbor Freight has another motorcycle lift, but it's $100 more. It looks like it's probably a little bit better built, a little bit more sturdy and stuff like that. But like I said, since my middle name is Finkelstein, I saved $100. I spent $2 on a 2x3, not a 2x4, which is 1.5 by 2.5, and about another $2 on a stupid little floor mat, so I could staple it to my wood, turn it upside down, and then so it's got the rubber up, so it gives it cushion, and it doesn't want to, you know, it's holding it. It doesn't want to slide or slip. This thing is just solid as a rock sitting on here. You'll have no problems. Anyways, best of luck. The mighty DR650 with its blanket on to keep dust off of it, and also in case it gets cold or scared, it'll be warm and happy. Yep. Let me show you guys some of my other trophies. Yeah, so we got the Parker 400, the Gila Bin 100, the Baja 1000. Well, I got second place. Malcolm Smith beat me. And some other trophies in there. Yeah. Those are motorcycle trophies. And there is my Harbor Freight modified DR650 motorcycle lift in Man Cave number 2. Yep, this here is the shed that I built from scratch. I designed it, I built it, and it's way better than any tough shed that you'll ever see. That's right, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Come out.